Hello and welcome. I was travelling overseas when the story of AFP raids upon the ABC raised its ugly head and was mystified at the wailing catch cry of assault on journalism. While roundly condemning the AFP's despotic fascism, the bleating ABC have only themselves to blame through being such gutless corporate shills. Their hand-wringing lament that Australian journalism is under attack begs the overarching question: exactly what journalism could that be? And where was this righteous defence of journalism during the horror years of the unprecedented persecution, unlawful confinement, gross human rights abuse and brutal torture of genuine journalist Julian Assange? Note, the sycophantic Australian government fully colluded in these human rights abuses and continue to neglect their mandated duty of care, protecting an Australian citizen in desperate need. Authentic journalism and current affairs reporting were vanquished decades ago, whereafter all we've endured ever since is corporatist propaganda, unrelenting obfuscation and outright lies. I can personally attest to this immoral censorship, having been the victim of scurrilous ABC bias via deliberately skewed interviews contrived to support the fiercely rejected eco side of fracking by misrepresenting my input as then spokesperson for the solidly anti-fracking community. The ABC globalist shill reporter cherry-picked selected sound bites of the recorded interview in order to convey a total falsehood and contemptuously refused to respond to my repeated emails and phone calls of objection. It still refuses to expose the sickening truth of ecocidal fracking by continuing to plaster lipstick on the pig. I recently signed a petition calling to defund the disgusting ABC because it's an absolute disgrace to news reporting, being living testimony to John Pilger's fitting pejorative of Vichy journalism. Again, I strongly condemn the thuggery of Australia's SS, the irredeemably corrupt AFP, but little can restrain them now. It's important to note their thuggery is not to defend the Australian people from terrorism, but rather shield the corrupt establishment from public scrutiny. If authentic journalism existed, these corporate henchmen could never have assumed such far-reaching powers of suppression. But it hasn't existed for decades, permitting the Gestapo AFP to get away with their mobster tactics unhindered. Another shameful example of mainstream media globalist collusion exists in their ongoing refusal to acknowledge that the official story of 9/11 is demonstrable garbage, to say nothing of the government-assisted criminal suppression of cheap and effective natural cancer cures. I recently reported on the scandalous travesty of justice that saw the UK's corrupt MHRA unlawfully imprison Mr David Noakes for the heinous crime of producing and distributing the stunningly successful cure for cancer of GC-MAF. I'm relieved to report a newly convened common law court has annulled the UK's Crown Court, which are exclusively commercial tribunals for business at the expense of justice. It's annulled their abuse of office rulings. Further to this, please do not donate money to Cancer Council or cancer research groups, which are total frauds because a variety of brilliant cures have been available for years. It's reliably estimated that government has killed over 2 million people in the past 20 years through suppressing GC-MAF along with countless other natural health cures. GC-MAF is also remarkably successful at treating vaccine-inflicted autism, but some 102 doctors have been brutally murdered for making noteworthy advances with this outstanding, naturally occurring remedy. So where was the ABC's spirited investigative journalism in exposing these hideous crimes? Well, of course, it doesn't exist, thanks to the subservient grovelling of fake journalists selling their worthless souls to a criminal corporatocracy. Pursuant to the total absence of authentic investigative reporting, we now endure the worst imaginable corruption running rampant throughout government, the Board of Police, and most especially the courts. Many innocent people are rotting in prison on trumped-up charges brought about in order to exploit the proceeds of crime wrought. Moderately wealthy couples are set up and convicted on fake charges, whereafter prosecutors make deals to release the wife in exchange for the husband's guilty plea. He then serves out a lesser sentence, while the parasites of government, the courts and the corrupt police confiscate all wealth and property under the Predatory Proceeds of Crime Act to divvy up amongst themselves. The biggest mass murdering criminal organisation of all time is government, and its monstrous rampage will worsen, all the while journalism colludes with the obvious criminality. Child raping, ritualised infant sacrificing, organ trafficking, satanic socio-psychopaths rule your lives via systemic abuse of power. They operate from the cover of institutionally corrupted law, defended by mercenary police and criminally controlled courts. Thank you for watching.